Hey guys, it's Zyger. I wanted to bring you guys a new guide on the Heaven's Fury build that's making the rounds a little bit on the PTR that came up in patch 2.4. And this is a build that's really interesting, really fun. I've been playing it the last day or two. It's got some really awesome synergy and some really awesome combinations that make it super powerful. People have done above Greater Rift 100 with this. And I know what some of you are saying, they're going to nerf the Legacy of Nightmares ring set anyways, right? Yeah, they are. I think this set might still survive, and this build might still survive into the next season just because it's still super powerful and you can still build around it. So let's get into it. First with gear, you want a Leoric's crown with as high a percentage as possible. Usually strength vit crit is good. With shoulders, you basically just want your best shoulders. I just have this one because it has cooldown and Heaven's Fury damage. Chest is Aquila Cuirass. This is really good. It gives you a ton of survivability with this build, which we really need. Again, with the survivability, St. Archu's Gauge gives you survivability as well. When you take damage from elite packs, it's really nice. This amulet, the Hellfire Amulet, it gives you Holy Cause. And we'll talk about the passives in a bit, but Holy Cause is one of the 5 passives that we want to have if we have a Hellfire. New Bracer, Bracer of Fury. Mine is not especially amazing. It's only 345%. You just want one that's as close to 400% as possible. I'm going to be looking for a new one of this. Hexing Pants, we're moving a lot with this build. Hexing Pants is best in slot. String of Ears, you can go Witching Hour here if you want to, or Cord of Sherma. I'll talk about why Court of Sherma is really good in a second. Ring set, Litany of the Undaunted and the Wailing Host. This is the set that's being nerfed. Right now on PTR it's 800% bonus. It will be 100%, but again, I think that this build is going to be good enough to survive that nerf and still be viable in Season 5. Fate of the Fell, 3 beams of Heaven's Fury, that's what we want. Illusory Boots allows us to walk through enemies. Very, very nice to have too, especially evading. Lots of attacks. It's very important. This is a very awesome item for this build. And new Shield of Fury. So the new shield, each time an enemy takes damage from your Heaven's Fury, it increases the damage they take from your Heaven's Fury by 17%. This is just awesome with the Heaven's Fury rune we're going to be using because it keeps ticking and doing tons and tons of more damage as time goes on. So that's about it. The key items in this build are Fate of the Fell, Shield of Fury, and Bracer of Fury as far as the damage part of the spec, and their survivability comes for the rest that I talked about. So let's go to skills real quick. Heaven's Fury, Blessed Ground. This is the rune that we're going to use because it shoots out beams that tick when enemies go into it. So this is what it looks like right there. These beams go into enemies, and they tick and keep doing a lot of damage to them. And the cool thing about this, too, is that they can be targeted from long range. So you can target something from long range with this ability. I have Steed Charge Nightmare, but I think this is pretty much interchangeable with most of the other Steed Charges. You might want to do Draw and Quarter or Endurance instead. I like to have Nightmare because you can put more damage in the form of fire on the ground. I think it's pretty nice, especially when you're running a lot with this build. You're running around, so I think it's good. Shield Glare, Divine Verdict. Now, blinding is a key part of this build, and Shield Glare, Divine Verdict is one of the sources of blind we have. I also talked about how we have Court of the Sherma in the cube, which I'll talk about in a second, but this is one of the source of blinding. There's also one more source in one of the gems that we'll talk about too. Iron Skin, Steel Skin, great rune for survivability. Just gives us, a ton more protection on top of the rest of the protection that we have. Laws of Justice, Immovable Object. So you can go Laws of Valor Critical here instead. This is just a really good survivability one. If you go Laws of Valor with Critical, you might want to just cube a Unity instead of a Convention of Elements to get that survivability from elsewhere. Akarat's Champion with Prophet, that's pretty explanatory. You get a lot more defense out of that. Heavenly Strength, Finery, Long Arm of the Law, Indestructible, and Holy Cause are the 5 passives. Remember, I have Holy Cause as my neck. So those are the 5 passives that we're looking for. Just gives us basically the best damage that we can. Alright, so let's talk about Paragon real quick. So priority here is just get as much move speed as possible, 25%, and then dump the rest into strength. Offense, you want to prioritize cooldown. It's a good priority for this build because it allows us to have our damage and survivability abilities up longer. So probably the priority here is cooldown, critical hit damage, critical hit chance, and attack speed is almost useless in this build. Defensively, we want to go resist all, and then armor, then life, and then life regeneration. And utility, you basically want area damage, life on hit, and resource cost reduction, then gold find. That's the priority. Alright, let's talk gems for a second. So we have Bane of the Trapped. Just gives us, a lot more damage. A lot more damage, and it scales very well with this build. Mine is rank 91 now. I just did a 90 tier rift. Zaze. Now, Zaze is really interesting from the perspective of Crusaders who have almost never used Zaze in any build, but the reason we use it is twofold. One is we are at range when we're doing a lot of our attacks in this build, a long range, so it does do a lot of damage when you're running far from enemies. It really starts to increase the damage that your beams are doing. And then secondly, the most important fact is it stuns the enemy. You have 20% chance on hit to stun the enemy for 1 second. And that is really important because it synergizes with the rest of the build. You want to stun, it helps you survive. And with the Bracer of Fury, things that are blinded from our shield glare, that will take more damage from Heaven's Fury. So all this stuff synergizes. When stuff is stunned, it's easier to blind, and you do more damage. And then the third gem is the Bane of the Stricken. Bane of the Stricken just gives us a big damage boost. So plus when it comes to Rift Guardians, just an overall great gem to have. So that's the gems. Let's go over to the cube real quick. So in the cube, we have Eberly Charo, the Crusader Shield. This just reduces the cooldown of Heaven's Fury by 50%. You want to keep pumping out those Heaven's Fury. That's why this is invaluable. There's not really a substitute here. If you don't have this, you won't be able to do Heaven's Fury with enough regularity to really make it worth it. So this is really key. So really what you could do is have either Shield of Fury or Eberly Charo, whichever shield is better, and then cube the opposite. Court of the Sherma. This is invaluable too, is because it creates a chaos field which can blind enemies. And again, this synergizes with this Bracer, which allows your Heaven's Fury to do a ton more damage to blinded enemies. So chance on hit, it does occur a lot, and it's really invaluable in this build. Very nice to have. Unity, I have Unity cubed. If you're doing lower, you can go Convention of Elements if you're fine on survivability. Unity just allows us to not get one shot above Greater Rift 90 or so. So it's nice to have, but I was doing Convention all the way until I did a 90 with Convention, and then I switched it. So that's basically where it is. At 90 and above, you'll pretty much get one shot unless your Steel Skin and Immovable Object is up for the most part. So that's about it for the cube. Just gameplay tips. You want to basically stay at a range from mobs. Don't get backed into a corner. Make sure to utilize the blind. What's great to do is if you shoot out a Heaven's Fury, you can immediately follow it up with a blind on the enemies that it's hitting, because that is what is going to do a ton of damage. Remember, this Bracer and blinding is great. Basically manage your cooldowns as you would typically. You're going to want to use these abilities quite a bit for survivability, but use range to your advantage. You can really evade a lot of things with this build because it's really a ranged build. And with the Hexing Pants, you always pretty much have to be moving to take full effect of the damage. So, that being said, let's get into some gameplay right here. abilities. Can't even do my abilities. New Stone Singer, huh? Alright, did a 90. Yeah, this build is obviously getting nerfed with the rings, but it might survive in some incarnation. So, pretty cool. There it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Last thing, I know the rings are going to be nerfed from 800% to 100%. Might even get adjusted after that, depending on how this pans out. But I still think that this build might survive. I think it's fun to do right now. Great build to try out. And considering there's people that have done over greater if 100 with it, it still might survive that nerf. So, thanks for watching, guys. Catch me on stream, www.twitch.tv/Zygor, and have a good one.